Increasingly, cybercrime has become a contemporary reality. We can no longer sit behind and watch while crimes that are going on in cyberspace are taking over the traditional crimes. It's very popular to hear about hacking, you hear about identity theft, people taking advantage of other people's identities to commit or perpetrate crimes. We hear about other crimes like issues related to invading people's privacy, issues related to cyber terrorism, and breaking into critical infrastructures. However, one issue that I find very appalling is the fact that people are not talking about child pornography. It's an increasing trend and people are not really talking about it. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in parts of society where it's normal for people to marry young brides. And so in such jurisdictions as well, it's not really an issue to talk about child abuse in the form of child pornography. Particularly, you find that the age difference in jurisdictions differ for prosecuting cybercrime. So while the age limit for prosecuting child pornography in a jurisdiction may be 15, in another jurisdiction it may be 10, in another jurisdiction it may be 20. And so I am speaking from a lawyer's perspective. These crimes are going on. However, technology is far ahead of the law. And so it's going on and it's not being prosecuted as it should be. Cybercrime is not being tackled as it should. And so individuals are left to protect themselves while the state has the first priority. So increasingly, it's penetrating our daily lives, it's taking over what we've known. And every facet of traditional crime we know is actually going on online. So theft, plagiarism, piracy, all kinds of crimes, child abuse, violence, domestic violence, violence against women, all kinds of crimes are going on in cyberspace. So increasingly, it's taking over our known traditional crimes. Again, because of the nature of the cyberspace, it's easier. It accords criminals anonymity, it's faster, it's easier. You can commit a crime from one jurisdiction and the effect is felt in another jurisdiction. And so, you know, it's easier for criminals to get away. So it's becoming an easier way to commit crimes.
What about within the corporate space for businesses, cybercrime within the business space? How responsive should organizations be at the moment?
As responsive as, actually, you see, with the businesses, I think a lot of the problem is a lack of awareness. Everybody just believes it's a trend to use ICTs. Apart from being a trend, it's become a necessity. But again, the awareness, it's not there. I will talk about banks, the bank scams, and what is going on with individuals and banks. You find that statistics reveal that a lot of the banks don't publicize the depth, the extent of hacking into their systems or cybercrimes going on with the banks because for fear of losing customers. I think it's time that businesses take advantage of the protection that they can afford themselves, particularly by employing experts, by creating awareness, by making sure in every way they can. Again, it is not a challenge alone for businesses, if I may say. The government itself needs to rather take that place rather than businesses. So businesses should no longer sit back and just think it's business as usual. If you look at hacking, if you look at e-commerce crimes, if you look at financial fraud online, even with the use of bitcoins and all of that, the main targets of so many cyber criminals are businesses. And so the businesses must ensure in every way trainings, in every way they can, because a lot is really going on, more than we know. A lot of businesses are not even aware that their systems are being hacked into, their systems are being targeted. And so it's very important for businesses to sit up in that line.
Now, you mentioned earlier talking about protection laws for personal data, how companies can protect data, threat to personal information. Now, I know that in South Africa in April, introduced the Protection of Personal Information Act. And local businesses, under the Act, local businesses are now legally required to ensure that all client, supplier, and employee information is stored, processed, and destroyed in a manner that upholds privacy and protection of personal data. How far-reaching do you see? I mean, because obviously this is from a policy perspective. Now the government is doing something to curb cybercrime, at least on that front. So how far-reaching is this kind of policy could go in curbing cybercrime?
Now, can I say that laws may be drafted in the most draconian terms, but if they are not enforced, then there are no laws. I picked up the Data Protection Bill of Nigeria, for example. I found that it was word for word unabridged with the UK data protection laws. Now, yes, these laws may be in place, but the problem now falls with protection, enforcement. These laws go a long way if indeed they are enforced. Now, the problem here again, I said something about awareness. Now, for most businesses, information is key. Access to data is key. Access to customer data is key. It's become like a gold mine. If you have a customer's data, you can sell them what is fitting to what they would need. If you share them to your sister companies, it's also an avenue for companies to make money. So it's a whole ring. It's like a cartel. So, but yes, the laws go ahead to protect, would go a long way, but the problem is the enforcement. Now, these laws are made. The members of the public are not even aware of these laws. You have data protection commissions, for example. Whether they are really doing their work that's another issue.